Welcome back and welcome to my Ghost Poinsettia gel polish nails that you can do in your salon this Christmas, or you could do all the designs on top of this, but I'm going to do a little Christmas flower on these for you. So this is going to be using watercolour paint. If you haven't got watercolour paint, you can do the same effect with watered down white acrylic paint. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with 2 black coats of gel polish, both cured and in the lamp, and then we're going to do a matte top coat and cured. The matte top coat's needed with watercolour to paint on top of. You can't paint on anything that's oily or shiny with watercolour paint. So once you've done your 2 black, I want you to matte top coat, no white, matte, and pop it in the lamp. And what I'm going to do while that's in the lamp, this is my white watercolour, and I'm just going to water it down to a little double cream consistency with water. So once my nail comes out, so this is my matte top coated nail, I'm going to draw with quite a bit of product in my brush. This is my aquarelle brush from Flo and Ellie, a leaf shape, a petal shape, and I'm going to just let that watercolour permeate into that matte top coat just for a minute, and I'm going to go round and I'm going to do 3 petals to start with, 3 leaves, leafy shapes, and make the ends trail out. I'm just going to let them, like I say, permeate, just leave them to go. And that's number 3. On it goes. And then I'm going to get rid of the liquid in the brush, leave a tiny bit of water in there, but not much. And I'm going to start using the brush as a hoover. Okay, you can see that the bristles, because the belly on the brush is quite big because it's a watercolour, it sucks that product back up inside the belly of the brush. So there it is. I'm just wiping my brush on a soft cloth and sucking the middle out of that with my lovely brush. There we go. Just wet it down a little bit if you need a little bit more colour taking out, if you want to make it a little bit more transparent. And then once your brush is dry, you can use that brush as a hoover to suck that out. There we go. And we're going to repeat that on all the petals. And what I'm trying to do is just leave a little bit of white, just a hue of white in the centre, and then leave an outline of brighter white on the outside. So remember to use your brush as a hoover to suck up any excess. Add a little bit of water if you need to, just to water it down a little bit and get it so the brush can just suck it up into the belly. And then wipe it on that soft cloth at the side. And don't want a harsh movement when you're wiping. So there's the first 3. I'm then going to layer. So I'm going to pop another 2 on top here. Drooping downwards. I think it's another 3 I shall add. So make sure that they're all different shapes, a little bit kind of non-uniformed. And then this one here, I'm going to pop in between those 2 petals there. So I've got quite a fair amount of the watered down watercolour paint on my brush at this point. So I'm just going to start taking the liquid. You can see my brush is slightly damp, but it's not wet because I need it. It's a little bit too wet, so I'm just taking a bit of water out and using my brush to suck up all that excess liquid from the centre. Takes a little bit of practice this, but once you've done it a few times, and if you like this, if the white's just not coming up, you just water it down a little bit with a bit of water, wipe your brush off, and then pat and start to suck up all of that excess. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. So if you were going to do this with acrylic paint, you'd water your paint down just as much as you would your watercolour, so it's a double cream consistency. But what you do is you take out of each petal before moving on to the next one, because acrylic paint dries much quicker than watercolour paint, and when it is dry you can't move it, whereas watercolour paint can be moved. You can't move the acrylic paint, it sticks to the surface and that's where it stayed. So rather than doing 2 or 3 petals and then taking from out the middle, if you're using acrylic paint watered down, do 1 petal at a time. Put the petal down, suck the middle out, move on to the next one. So I'm just moving up to the top now, just adding another element up the top. So if it's just a little bit too opaque, I'm just adding a tiny little bit of water on the end of my brush into the middle and just fluffing that out. You could do so many things with this. You could do circles, you could actually make bubbles. So you could do bubbles, circles, and then you could go over the top of those bubbles with pigment. So it picks up on the white underneath. You could do all different coloured pigments over the top of them. So it's quite a versatile little technique. So this, I call it shadow, ghosty, because of it looks like a ghost. So you could probably do ghosts actually on Halloween with the same technique. So I'm just finishing this last petal here. Taking that middle out, making it translucent. Just doing a few finishing touches, and you can see I can still play with this watercolour. That's why I prefer watercolour to acrylic paint, because then you can just keep playing with it. Once you've done that, give it a few minutes to dry, and then what we're going to do is we're going to mix together a little bit of this delightful stuff. So this is Gelux chameleon flakes. If you've got any chameleon flakes, I liked it because it got a bit of green in it, with a little bit of top coat. There we go, so I've mixed that in. But what I'm going to do now with this, before we start, is I'm going to matte top coat over the top of this now it's dry. So I'm just popping a little bit of velvet matte. The reason why I'm doing velvet matte is because I want the contrast between the top coat that I'm using now and the velvet matte underneath. So you've got that shiny matte contrast. So I'm using this top coat now with this little bit of chameleon flake in, just to paint leaves in and around, mingled in with the leaves that you've already done. So we're going to do this on both flowers. So on some of the other designs that you'll see on the picture, I have done the same thing, but I've used different coloured chameleon flakes. So I've used a pinky red chameleon flake, a goldy coloured chameleon flake, but the process is still exactly the same. So you're mixing this with just clear top coat. You can actually use ultrafine glitter as well. You know, the iridescent glitters look really lovely, but it's got to have a little bit of movement when you put it under the light. So just to make those stand out a little bit more, I'm just going to get some top coat and my brush and just go over the top of the leaves just to make them raise up that little bit more. So you've got that lovely contrast between the two, and it also seals and protects those chameleon flakes in. And once you've covered all of those in top coat, it's cured and it's ready and it's finished. What I'm going to do before I leave this nail alone is I'm going to use my tack-free white gel paint, and I'm just going to pop a little bit of pollen in the centre of these flowers using my dotting tool. And because obviously it's tack free, once this is cured, and we've cured it in the lamp, once it's done, we haven't got to wipe over it, we haven't got to do anything with it, top coat or anything. Make sure that these bits of pollen are all different sizes, larger bits towards the front of your flower, so what you want to look towards the front of you, and then getting smaller as they go to the back. There we go. And it just gives it another dimension and just lifts it a little bit more. And there we have it. So moving on to the final design, and on this one I am using Nail Chemie's wolf's hair magnetic. So I've done 2 coats of black, and I'm just going to pop 1 coat of the wolf's hair over the top, and then I'm going to use my magnet to make it go into a line down the middle. So magnetising from each side, and once you've got the line where you want it to be, pop that into the lamp to cure. There we go, and in it goes. This is velvet matte top coat, so I'm just popping that on the top. Lovely. There it is. And into the lamp. And I absolutely love the way that magnetic polishes look underneath a matte top. It's amazing. So this time I'm going to use the Crystal Nails Chameleon Flake, and I'm going to just pop that into my top coat gel. So this is a no wipe top coat. I'm just mixing this into. Make sure there's plenty on there. You can use a polish that's already like this. I think Nail Chemie have air, fire, water, and earth, I think. So I'm going to just start now, the same as before with my petals, but these are going to be a lot smaller. So I'm just doing some tiny, this is so quick and so simple. So I'm just going to do some really tiny petals this time. So I'm basically going to do everything the same as I did the first time round. I'm going to use my watered down white watercolour paint. I'm going to paint on my leaves. I'm just doing them a little bit haphazardly, just 3 at a time. And then I'm going to take the excess out with my brush. So it's quite quick, quite easy. It makes a dead nice pattern for the Salon. It's just quick. So I'm just wetting my brush a little bit and then hoovering up the centre, leaving that white outline there. I need to put my teeth in today. Leaving that white outline there, hoovering it up, and I'm just going to follow this along all of these. Just look at the magnetic though down the middle of that. It looks so nice, and it's like real quick nail art. Great for Salon. You don't need anything special, just your magnetic paint, magnetic gel, and your magnet. I'm just going to pop these in. Then I want you to matte top coat and take them out ready for the chameleon gel and top coat. So this has been matte top coated and taken out. And now what I'm going to do is start doing that detail on the top. So just painting in between the gaps where your other 3 leaves are. I'm just going to paint 3 more leaf shapes in between that. And then I'm going to go over those with a teeny tiny bit of top coat at the end just to seal them. Just like that. Amazing. So just going over the top of those now with a little bit of clear no white top coat just to seal those in and raise them up ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. Like so, and pop that in the lamp to cure. So I'm just now going to use my dotting tool and my tack-free white gel paint, and off camera, well done Melanie, I'm going to pop some dots in the middle. So in the middles of your flowers, pop a few little dots. And that, once cured, is that. And I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. I hope you can do loads with the technique. If you have a look at these now, you can see that I did a lovely navy blue one as well in the middle, and I put some little tiny dots on that. So you can do all sorts with this, and they look so pretty under the light. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.